What did Dooku do with Boba Fett after the Battle of Geonosis, and after the death of his father? Greetings, Acolytes, and welcome back to the Archives. The story of Boba Fett immediately following the events of the Geonosian arena battle are quite tragic, and tells us the true origin story of the man that will become the most deadly bounty hunter that the galaxy had seen. Dooku had promised Jango Fett that he would care for Boba if he ever were to meet an untimely death, making an agreement with the Dark Lord, one that unsurprisingly, the Sith would not honor. For years, Jango Fett is all that Boba has known. He has been on his side for many missions, being trained, being a true extension of the Mandalorian way through his father's very blood that coursed through his veins. Jango never treated Boba as a knockoff clone. He was his true son. Jango had always wanted a clone because he felt as if he could never trust anyone but himself. And with Boba Fett, he had truly found someone that he could trust completely and love as his own. This all culminates in the attack of the clones, when Boba was on Geonosis, witnessing as his father, the only connection in the wide galaxy, be brutally decapitated by the Jedi Windu. Our final image of the young Boba is his kneeling down in the empty arena, solemnly pressing his forehead against the helmet of Jango, hinting at his future to come. The very next time we see him though, he has acquired a full team of bounty hunters and is on our revenge quest against Windu. But what happened between these two moments? How did a boy Boba's age manage to navigate his way through the criminal underworld and still complete his training? We actually get a full story of what happened to Boba in the Legends novel Boba Fett Crossfire. So join us today as we open a holocron and explore what happened to Boba. Immediately after all the fighting had moved out of the wastelands of Geonosis, Boba would bury his father there on the planet. Not knowing what else to do, he simply dug a hole, placed Jango's body in there after stripping him of his armor, and fashioned a simple headstone with the letters JF. Many decades later, in 40 ABY, Jango's body would be moved to a more respectable resting place on the world of Mandalore, returning with honor to his ancestral home. Following burying his father alone, Boba would travel back to Kamino, having nowhere else to go. Unfortunately, when he arrived, he did not find it to be the safe home that he had once known it to be. It had been overrun with clone troopers, Jedi, and representatives of the Republic. And it's not as if the Kaminoans were going to give much care to the boy, since they only regarded him for what Jango could give them. Without his father to ensure his protection, Kamino was no longer his home. The young Fett has always said that he didn't regard the cloning facility or Kamino as his home anyway, as he traveled the stars with his father, and wherever Jango went was his true home. But now, that was all gone, tarnished by the Jedi. Everything he had known was gone in a flash of purple. Yet, all hope was not entirely lost for Fett. Jango, ever the cautious man with the backup plans to his own backup plans, had of course accounted for the event of his untimely death, and would never completely abandon Boba. He had left behind a book of contingency instructions on the Slave One. The primary instructions were for Boba to locate the man known as Terminus in order to gain access to a secret storage of credits, one that Jango had squirreled away. By this point, the facade between Dooku and Terminus had dropped, and Boba was fully aware who the real Count was. But interestingly, it was Dooku who would find Boba first, sending the bounty hunter Aurra Sing to acquire him. Aurra would find Boba hiding out on Coruscant and would bring him back to Dooku's temporary underground hideout on the world of Rexis Prime. For payment, Dooku let Sing have the Slave One and kept Boba Fett in a room within a bunker. Interestingly, Jango's instructions told Boba that he would learn self-sufficiency from Terminus, and it seemed that Dooku was aware of Jango's wishes for Dooku to care for his son in the event of his death. I find it fascinating that Jango actually trusted Dooku enough to not only control his own credits and assets after his death, but actually get his son ready to enter the galaxy alone. In a twist of events, it turns out that Jango never trusted Dooku at all though, and the self-sufficiency that he cryptically told Boba was for him to learn from Dooku was to never trust anyone. Jango was aware that Dooku would try to use Boba and even attempt to kill him to hide secrets, but Boba would survive and learn a valuable lesson. On Rexis Prime, Dooku had been setting up an excavation operation to look for something known as the Force Harvester, essentially a globe which was able to siphon the lives out of living beings and store their power. It was the main power source to an ancient Sith superweapon known as the Dark Reaper. When the Force Harvester gained enough power and was placed within the Dark Reaper, the machine would have the capability to drain the life out of entire armies. It was a weapon thought to be lost to history until Dooku managed to find the Force Harvester was on Rexis Prime. When Boba awoke in his small room in the excavation bunker, he was taken directly to the Count. It would be there that Dooku promised that he would train him to be a powerful bounty hunter, a weapon for the Sith. But Boba, reading his father's message about learning self-sufficiency, would take this as meaning that he needed to do everything alone, and this led him to escape Dooku, breaking the Count's rules and exploring the dig site without Dooku's knowledge. Dooku would eventually catch him though, and was about to have him disposed of and murdered when the Jedi and the Republic attacked Rexis Prime. In the confusion, Boba managed to escape Dooku. I love the idea that Dooku represented the insane talent that Jango had imparted upon Boba, not only with his own DNA, but with his training, and the fact that he even wanted to train Boba as a personal Sith bounty hunter and assassin. But anyway, without a ship, Boba was unable to get far, and he was eventually found by clone troopers during the battle, as Boba agreed to be sent off to an orphanage on Bespin in order to escape Dooku. This being his first run-in with the clones, Boba was interested in them at first. Their movements were sharp and efficient. They reminded him of his father, and he was impressed with their skill with blasters and their ability to pilot ships. However, he would quickly come to learn that he didn't like being around them at all. The clones made him feel extremely strange within. He hated how calculated and unenthusiastic they were. They flew and fought with skill and efficiency, but no style. They had no fear, but no excitement either. At the age of 10, their rapid age and maturity had made them act 20. These were batches of clones that were all uniform. The clones did not have personalities of their own that they would later develop as the war raged on. Boba noted that the first batch of clone troopers fought as if they were droids, something that immediately turned Boba off to their existence. Unfortunately, later down the line, Boba would not meet these experienced clones who had developed style and enthusiasm, and the opinion of the droid-like men that had the face of his father never left him. Boba spent a great deal of time around other orphans as he was placed with one on Cloud City, even making a friend with them and getting to know a Jedi Padawan. But Boba remembered his father's teachings about how friends were a weakness, so he kept his mind on the single mission. On Bespin, Boba made a run for it and was ready to begin his search for Aurra Sing and his father's legacy. However, just like before, Sing found him first. They narrowly dodged the Jedi who had tried to find Boba after he went missing from the orphan group, and soon, the two of them escaped and the slave won. It was then revealed why Aurra Sing had saved Boba. She knew about Boba's hidden inheritance, and that Jango Fett had left a fortune hidden around the galaxy, and that Boba was the one that could lead her to it. Jango's riches were revealed to have all been locked behind a DNA fingerprint and retinal scanners, only to be opened by Boba. She would then strike a deal with Boba, giving him command of the Slave One, and lead him to each vault in exchange for a 50-50 split. Boba, seeing an opportunity to learn from Aurra, one of the greatest bounty hunters in the galaxy, agreed, but hated that he had been beaten by her. But from here, Boba and Aurra together would begin building their team, going on missions to build up their credit stock. And this is where we find them in the Clone Wars, when Boba embarks on his revenge against Windu. Jango's contingency book would continue to give Boba day-by-day instructions for how to start his bounty hunting career, and one of those included finding Jabba the Hutt and building his reputation there. This is what happened to Boba Fett after the Battle of Geonosis, a really incredible book and story, giving brand new perspective on not only Boba Fett, but Jango as well as why so many wanted to get their hands on Boba Fett after the Battle of Geonosis, while also explaining how Boba got into the bounty hunter business immediately with a major advantage, not only his father's riches, but more importantly, his training. But what are your thoughts on Jango Fett's book of guidance and what he left behind for Boba? Thank you as always, my friends, for watching, and I do hope you enjoyed today's video. As always, may the Force be with you, and I hope you're having a great one.